So it's our 10th anniversary.
Yes, we started here at this Coffee Bean, which looks nicer inside than this amazing background, but this is the only filming location that we could secure. But we are here
We're here
at Coffee Bean.
Coffee Bean.
So we met here 10 years ago to do our first day of working on Draw Attention.
Yeah.
And to find out whether we liked working with each other.
So what do you think? Do you like working with me?
The jury's still out day to day, but we're still here.
We're still here. All right, so we're celebrating 10 years by answering some questions from our team.
Yes. The team has submitted questions which we will mostly answer. We may omit a few.
Maybe.
And hopefully it does not get too bright. The sun is going to be get down in our eyes soon, and we are about 20 feet away from 4 lanes of street traffic. So hopefully you can hear us.
Yes. Hopefully it all works out.
All right. How are we going to do these? Are we going to read the questions aloud?
Yeah, we could take turns asking the questions.
All right, your turn first. Okay.
NSquared has created a whole family of helpful products. Simply schedule appointments, draw attention, aardvark, and blink metrics. What do all the NSquared products have in common that makes them different from others on the market?
Well, I think all of our products, we really focus on the customer experience, and that is in the product and the product user experience and the support side. I think everybody has bought a lot of software that is either poorly built or really hard to use or really bad support, basic frontline support where they just send you a canned response to no matter what you send without them actually reading the message. So I think that was definitely something we wanted to do differently from when we very first started. And I think that's common throughout all the products, even if they're built for different customers and the products are very different.
I would say they're all accessible.
Yes.
And that's pretty rare.
Yes, they are all accessible because of your deep expertise and background.
So everybody can use our products no matter what device they happen to be using, assistive technology. All of them will work.
Yeah. All right. Some of the NSquared products have mascots. How did those mascots come to be? Whose idea were they? Who named them? Who designed them?
Okay, I will tell the story of Foxy McFoxerson. How did that mascot come to be? That's a good question.
It was going to be an owl first.
It was very close to being an owl. Yeah, an owl holding a clock.
Yeah, I don't know why. Why did it change?
I didn't like the owl.
Oh.
And I talked you into changing it.
Very deep strategic reasons is the answer to the question.
Yes, purely an aesthetic choice. I thought the fox was really cute.
Great.
And at one point we had considered naming the product Sly Schedule, and everyone knows foxes are sly.
That's right. That was going to be the cloud version, I think, was Sly Schedule.
Yeah, I think I still have that domain name, actually. And I don't remember how Foxy got her name. Did I name her, or did Natalie G name her?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was obviously not a very creative name. But...
Hey! Foxy McFoxerson.
But the McFoxerson, but calling it Foxy was...
We have to talk about Otto and where Otto came from.
That's a very convoluted history. Otto's had many lives. He's been my default behind-the-scenes mascot for many years.
He's worked for Nathan for a long time.
He's my imaginary robot friend. He's been involved in 2 or 3 failed projects and Plug-in Detective and now another one. So
yeah.
It's the unsung hero.
Yeah. And who designed him? It was a designer you knew. long time ago, right?
Yeah, a print designer that I used to do website work for did it for me in trade for some other web stuff that I was doing for her. So, and then Otto got a revamp. We lost the original files, or you got a little bit of an upgrade. Did you do the upgrade? You did the
I did
upgrade
the
for Plugin
upgrade.
Detective.
Yeah, added 3D extruding and Illustrator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graphic stuff. Yeah.
Yes. What was the most challenging business decision you've had to make in the last 10 years?
There's probably some stiff competition in that area.
They're all hard decisions. Making our first hire, that was a pretty scary decision.
Was it?
Yeah, it was for me.
Okay. We had different opinions. It was very necessary and long overdue. We'd operated for 7 years without a single hire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
It is, yeah. It was long overdue by the time we did it, though. What was the most rewarding accomplishment of the last 10 years of business?
So it's not a single one, but I think getting the first paying customer for a new product that's the most exciting thing.
Yes, yeah, it is very exciting. And the first thing that goes through your head is like, oh, is this a mistake? Or does it? I remember the first time I got a sale on a previous plugin. Like, I got it and was like confused. Like, I was like, wait, somebody actually found this and bought it? Like, I wasn't done with this site.
Did they mean to type in their credit card number?
Yeah, that's always rewarding. It's some kind of external validation that you're not crazy, that somebody actually found value in what you've spent hundreds or thousands of hours at that point building to get to the first dollar. Software is, I think, uniquely difficult that way.
Yeah.
Like starting an agency or something, getting my first client it did feel, it probably felt similarly, but it wasn't as long of a road to get there. It was kind of like, sure, I could do that. Give me a few dollars and people just let you try. Versus this, you really have to be building something for months and months on end, and like putting hundreds of hours into this thing that you have no idea is going to go anywhere. So when you do get those first few sales, gives you enough like momentum and energy to keep going.
What are the keys to building a lasting business partnership with a co-founder that's capable of lasting 10 or more years?
I think starting slow. I think both of us had been in some previous partnerships or potential business arrangements that got quite messy, and a lot of that comes from excitement and everybody jumping in and having lots of ideas and talking about the grand future and all of that. But most of day-to-day business is kind of a grueling pile of details. And so it's not actually that glamorous. So I think both of us having gone through that, I think we started very tentatively. Like, we wouldn't even go over to each other's houses. We had to meet here at Coffee Bean in a very neutral space, 4 hours a week in a very isolated area. And I also think at least for me, I'd had situations where everybody would talk very enthusiastically, but then one person would end up doing way more work. Somebody would do some work and somebody would do no work. And it feels very like unbalanced and unfair. And so I think from the outset, we just decided, because we both had a lot of other things going on. We both had agencies and contractors and clients and other projects going on. So I think we decided really just, okay, we're going to meet here at Coffee Bean for these hours on this day, and we won't,
no matter what,
and we won't work on this project outside of that. At the beginning, at least, was like, okay, well, we'll be 50-50 partners in this, and we'll put basically exactly 50-50 effort in it, because neither of us will have any responsibility outside. And that, of course, changed, and we went to twice a week for 4 hours, and then 8 hours on one day. And after a couple of years, I think we invited each other over to our houses, but it was it's a very slow process.
And we were 3 years in before we formed an entity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we sold Draw Attention originally on my agency site because I already had the e-commerce set up and I'd sold a few plugins. So yeah, we didn't even, because typically everybody gets excited and you form the entity and they buy the business cards and they do all of the things first. And I'd done that 2 or 3 times already, and so we decided to see if it went anywhere at all first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took our time.
I think,
Yeah. I had lost friendships over previous attempts at partnerships.
Yeah, and I think it was because Natalie and I were familiar with each other. We had met and like kind of knew enough about each other and had met at meetups repeatedly, but we weren't friends. So I remember kind of going into this like, well, I've been burned and almost lost friendships over this. There's not really a risk here. Like, if we end up, hating each other, there's not that much of a loss on the line in those first few months.
Are we friends now?
Yeah. Now there's something to lose,
Okay.
but
Just checking.
But it was easier because it was we
didn't know each other super well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were more acquaintances.
Yeah.
Than friends.
Yeah.
It's true.
How many years into NSquared did you hire your first employee? What advice do you have for other startup founders on how to know when it's time to grow the team? Yeah.
We'd hired a couple people just like part-time, ad hoc.
Like hours as needed, which I think is less of a risk and less of a commitment, on both sides.
My first full-time employee was in 2020, which was 5.5 years from when we started working together on our first product. And 3 years after we started working on the second product. Advice for startup founders on how to know when it's time to hire. I don't know. It's always scary. I always think it's scary to hire people. How do you know when it's time? I think when you're truly overwhelmed, but you have the revenue to support a salary. Like, there's always more than you can do, but I think there's a difference between just having a few too many things on your to-do list and being truly, truly overwhelmed.
Yeah. I also think when you have a pile of work that is similar, because I think a lot of bouncing around, like we're doing development, we're doing customer support, we're doing marketing, we're doing like design, all these different things, and that's kind of hard to hire around. But I think when we got a volume of work that was all similar, like that's easier to hire a role that fits within a role. Like we got to the point where I think we were meeting at Coffee Bean and we would spend the entire 4 hours like just answering support tickets and looking into bugs, and like we would just go open up Help Scout to do our customer support. We wouldn't even ever get out of that. We're like, okay, time to go home. And I think that was the point where, well, it really makes sense to hire this out, because it's hard to hire a generalist who can come in and do every single thing that you need done. But we had a bunch of support that needed done.
We couldn't even do anything else.
Yeah.
What strengths do each of you have as co-founders, and how do you complement each other as you co-lead the business?
One of us is more rash and risk aggressive, and one of us is slightly more conservative. And in general,
which one is which?
Nobody could guess. And in general, that is a helpful balance.
Okay.
I think when we started, the balance we really complemented each other as developers, right? Like for the first 7 years of the business, we wrote every line of code in the products, and so our division was pretty strict there. Like Natalie is very strong in front end and user experience and design and JavaScript and
your favorite things.
Yes, of course. and I am very good in not those things. So
Everything that's not those
like
things.
databases, architecture, backend code,
APIs,
APIs.
automation,
Yes.
all of your favorite things.
So I mean, our work was like very cleanly divided for those first few years.
And that was all the work there was, really.
Right. Yeah. All there was at the beginning was just building the products. So.
Yeah.
I think that's changed over time, right? We've kind of had to.
We don't build the products anymore.
Yeah, as we pulled ourselves out of writing all of the code, I think we've kind of figured out where our different strengths and complementary skills are, but that was like a bit of a transition.
So I always think, Nathan, that you are like a wild horse that's just running away toward every new shiny thing, and I'm like pulling on the reins and going, whoa, whoa, and trying to direct you. What do you think our relationship is like?
I think I would describe that picture differently, being the horse, but yeah.
Are you like, I'm a horse, I'm just trying to run, and this lady keeps dragging me down?
Yeah. I'm trying to get somewhere. I'm trying to take her somewhere good, and she keeps slowing me down. But like, I'll eventually get there anyway, and we'll. What keeps you motivated to keep working?
I like having my own thing, and I think that's more exciting. I think for me, that's more exciting than working on someone else's thing. And I like empowering people to do work that they love and guiding people as they kind of grow and learn more and become more capable. That's really exciting.
It's really nice to be able to work on something and build it up over time and see like a product you start 8 or 10 years ago and work on the same thing and really craft and perfect it. Because I think coming from other jobs or roles or working with other clients, there's just never really the budget and political will to carry something that long. So it's a lot of like very short-term thinking, or budgets change, or the winds change inside of the business, or the economy changes and people just kill off projects. And I felt like over the 10 years that I was really doing the agency work, I would get to work on something for 3 months or 6 months or even a year and a half, but then something would happen and the project would kind of finish, or they would run out of budget for it, or they would change priorities, and then I just got to start all over again on a fresh project.
That's something new, yeah.
So it's rewarding to be able to build something of that substantial and continue really polishing and perfecting it. So I like that, and I like having worked in for a lot of bad clients and tough situations. And as somebody who really enjoyed the craft of building software, a lot of doing client work is not about the craft of building software or the craft of doing anything. A lot of it is project management, client management, sales, like dealing with all sorts of logistics that's not building the software. So I like that we can decide what's worth spending time on and not, and that we are willing to put that extra amount of polish. We don't have to convince anybody. And we're creating an environment where people who want to do that same thing can learn and grow. Like somebody who's worked at our company for a few years doing development has probably done way more development and got exposure to way more development than I did over 10 years, because I was having to do so many other things that was not actually development. Most of my actual personal development and career progression probably came from hobby projects and things I did on the nights and weekends, even when I was running my agency, because so much of it was just logistics and project management. So I like that part of it too, and I think it's great to see how far people can advance in a short time.
Who's your favorite hire to date?
That is not a fair question.
It's not a fair question.
I have my suspicions of who put that there. But,
I think someone was fishing for a compliment. Honestly, I don't have a favorite. Everybody's amazing. Everybody brings something unique to the team. Everyone is great.
Yes, they're all my favorite too. What, in your opinion, is the biggest accomplishment as a founder? Your biggest accomplishment?
My biggest accomplishment as a founder. I don't know, getting to where we are right now. Like, I think, like, we're here, we're Coffee Bean, where it all began. And, like, really, we have this company that 15 people show up for work every day and earn their livelihood. And there's value in the company, right? Like, there's worth. People give us money every day. And you and I sat down with, like, nothing else but our 2 laptops and our 4 little hands and made that out of nothing.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what the biggest. I think the biggest accomplishment is just that we're still here. We're still trying every day, and we get to still build cool stuff that we decide is worth building. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah. All right. What are some of the best things you have learned as a founder? Like, I've learned how rewarding it is to, like, hire and build a team and to create, like, a really positive, healthy company culture. You know, I had jobs where like, my job was to hire people or my job was to interview, but it's different when it's somebody who's working for you and you're the one paying their paycheck. It's a different thing. It's different.
Yeah, I think I appreciate that more than I expected to. You definitely learn. I think both of us are reluctant managers, and I think you learn a lot of things and learn a lot about people, and
Yeah.
it's always a unique situation that pops up that you think you've seen everything, and then something else happens, like good or bad. Like, it's people are very challenging and interesting.
And unpredictable.
Yeah. So, um, and then I think just I'm a pretty curious person. I like getting into lots of different things, and I think being a founder, you're constantly like presented with new and interesting challenges, and it kind of forces you to go and research and learn about things that you wouldn't have to otherwise. And or if you do learn about something cool, some cool new technology or approach or framework or system, you have something to apply it to. That is
Yes.
like
Yeah.
rather than just reading kind of a book or some kind of a blog post or article in the abstract. I can immediately start thinking, oh, how could this apply to what we're doing? And then I get to try it, and I feel like I learned so much more by
Yeah.
trying to apply something like that.
That's true.
If you could go back to when you first started your business, what would you have done differently?
Well, don't get mad.
You would go back and not do any of this?
I would have hired people sooner.
God. Yeah, I would go back with a recording of Natalie saying that to herself, because I think I recommended that no fewer than 20 times.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm. What's the biggest idea you had that you're glad you didn't do?
With that, I don't know, semi kind of close to doing that hotel map thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think you think we were closer than I was. I was like, what is this?
I'm glad we didn't do that.
Yeah, me too.
We were going to make maps to go in hotel rooms.
I think this was your idea. This is not a we thing.
It was my idea. No, you were on board though. Maps that would go in hotel rooms.
I'm the horses up for anything. Like, but even I, even I was not fully on board for that.
All right.
I was cautioning you.
It would be like local businesses, so that when you traveled, you would have in your hotel room this little paper that would be like, oh, here's 10 local restaurants and a local dry cleaner. But it would be all focused on small businesses. I spent a lot of time actually on that.
I know.
And we didn't do it.
I know.
Okay. But I'm glad we didn't.
Me too.
Okay. What about you?
I think it took tremendous discipline for me to not chase things while we were building SSA. we did.
That's true.
I did stay reined
It did.
in, and I kept my blinders on, and we just kept building and building and building, as to say, and did not do any of the fun shiny objects like Slackbot or AI or any of the things that came up.
That's true.
Because we had a clear opportunity with this to say we had a clear, like, customers who were asking for more things. We had a clear roadmap of what to do. And I think we were so resource constrained for so long because we didn't hire anybody that it took a very long time. But we did not chase a bunch of new ideas. I think there were many things we didn't allow to even start.
Yeah. It was really exciting when we started hiring people, though, and stuff started getting done that we didn't do.
Yeah.
It was like magic. Okay. Do you remember the first customer ever, and are you still in contact?
Yes, I do remember Dave Masso from from WordCamp Orange County, who I think found it though randomly. Found it through the directory. Like
Yeah.
I'd met him, or I kind of knew who he was, and but I found him at WordCamp Orange County like a few weeks later because it was just happening, and he was customer number one.
Yeah.
for Draw Attention.
Yeah.
So,
I think he's still a customer. I think his license is still active.
yeah, I think so. And
Yeah.
I remember it was both of us were like, oh, is this because we've been talking to a few other people, friends in the community, like people who wanted to use Draw Attention. We'd had several calls, and so we just kind of assumed that was going to be the first sale. And we're like, wait, who's this? Who's
Yeah.
Dave? Wait, do you know him? I don't know him.
Dave guy.
Who is this guy? So, yeah. What set you apart from other startup companies and helped you last for 10 years?
I think it has been our focus on being bootstrapped and sustainable and not trying to become a unicorn and get acquired by Google, but just trying to be a small business
Yeah.
that accomplishes things.
And I think it's been our focus on customer experience as well. Like the products, like we really focus on onboarding, we focus on ease of use, and like people are busy and have a million things to do in their day, and like if they're coming to us for appointment scheduling, like we're not the most important thing in their day. They just want to get up, get running, and move on. And
Yeah.
I think we really try to accommodate that. We put a lot of work into the onboarding and experience, and then on the customer experience side, like we try to give really good support. We try to respond quickly. We try to read every message, like things that should not be that novel or unique, but unfortunately, I think they are. Like we routinely, like weekly, get reviews and comments from people saying that it's the best customer support experience they've had with any product ever in their lifetime. Like, and like it's really sad. Like we do provide good support, but it's really sad that is so notable. But
Yeah.
I think that is really what has helped us. People have referred us. People continue to renew their accounts because like we will go that extra step. Like we'll write little custom snippets of code. We've hopped on Zoom calls with people when they're having trouble. Unheard of. Like when you can in the WordPress plugin world where you would
Yeah.
normally just you're lucky if somebody responds to your email message 4 days later with a completely automated reply that's useless. Getting a useful response in 2 hours and somebody saying after 3 messages being like, hey, sorry, you're having trouble, like let's just jump on a Zoom call. I think that really has enabled us to grow and stand out in terms of just building a reputation and loyalty within our customers. So I think that has like their appointment scheduling is a very crowded market, and even within WordPress, and I think that's definitely helped us.
Yeah, I agree. I think it goes back to being bootstrapped though, because when you're bootstrapped, every dime you have for paying salaries or buying tools comes from your customers.
Yeah, yes.
You have to make them happy.
It's not
You
coming
don't
from
have
anywhere
somebody
else.
else's money.
Yeah, it's not coming from anywhere else.
Was there ever a point where you had to pivot in a big way, whether it was with a product, strategy, or vision? What led to that decision, and how did it shape the future of NSquared?
I don't know if it was a pivot. It was definitely a big change when we pulled ourselves out of development. I think
Yeah.
that was a big learning curve and commitment. Like I think there was a question earlier about one of the hardest decisions. I wouldn't say it was the hardest. I think we knew it was necessary, but it was one of the most substantial decisions was to pull ourselves out of code, and that was a long term. Like there was a lot of short term losses, like in terms of
Yeah.
productivity. Like it was several steps backwards, but we committed to, hiring and building out a team, and it would take, not just hiring two people to replace the two of us, but a commitment to building that team and building systems and processes and everything around that. That was a pretty big change for us. And then with our newer products, because with Simply Schedule Appointments and Draw Attention, we were pulling ourselves out of development, but we were still intimately familiar with the products. The newer products, we've essentially written no lines of code in, which is we've reviewed every PR, we've reviewed every line of code, we've been heavily involved, but that has been a substantial shift in terms of everything. I can't just with Simply Schedule Appointments, I could still, even to this day, I could just jump in and be effective and fix something or add something if it needed to be done tonight. But I actually don't believe I could do that with the new products, which is a shift in the business for sure.
It is a shift. I think the other big shift is the new SaaS product shifting away from the WordPress only market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was an intentional kind of WordPress has been around for a long time. It's a huge portion of the internet, but you're dependent on a lot of things that you don't control, and nothing is forever. So we wanted to kind of take some risk out of the business, and we have a lot of people who are dependent on us at this point. So we wanted to be sure that for the long term that we were a little bit more diversified. So that's been a bit of a pivot, because I think working in WordPress, you become so reliant on all that traffic from the WordPress community. There's so many users and there's so much just built-in traffic. You publish a free version and people will find it and show up to your website, versus when you launch a SaaS business, by default, nobody's
showing up.
Nobody in the world knows you exist. Nobody will even get to your website to learn that you exist. So you really have to do a lot more work to even get people aware that you exist, versus when you're in a marketplace like WordPress or Shopify or anything, and you're listed in kind of an app store, people do find you because they're searching there every day.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, what excites you the most about the future of NSquared? Is there a big vision, next step you're looking forward to that our customers and team should be excited about?
I think our customers and team should be excited about everything we're doing.
Yeah, I'm excited about everything.
Yeah, I mean, Aardvark and Blink, I think, are both really awesome products.
Yeah, very young in the life cycle, so I'm excited to be doing growing products and building out a very ambitious large product like Blink Metrics, and have the team to support it that we need.
Yes.
So that it won't take us 8 years to get. Natalie and I originally thought would take maybe a year to get SSA to the point where it is now, and it
just took a little longer.
Yeah, it's been 8 years because we were trying to do it with no support team, no development team. We were the single point of failure for everything, and we were juggling lots of other commitments. I think now we actually have the team and processes, and we have everything in place where we actually can run a real business and try to grow something in a much shorter period of time. So I'm really excited to be going through this again and not feel like we're hopelessly under-resourced. It's always challenging bootstrapping. There's always constraints, but we can work on multiple things in parallel, and we can make consistent progress that we know will happen. I think that's super exciting, and we are just at those early stages.
All right, what qualities or skills do you look for when attempting to recruit a new hire? This is easy to answer. We have a list.
Yeah, we have a very a clear list. So we have our core values for our business, which is pretty fuzzy and not useful in a lot of businesses. But I think we were very intentional about not trying to come up with 3 catchy mantras that we put on the wall, but we actually looked at the people who were working for us at the time and looked at all the qualities that we really admired and liked about them, and then we made those our core values, and we've revised them slightly over time and added a few. I think even pulled one out, but we actually have a list of values that we hire for specifically, and we in quarterly conversations with everybody, we try to reevaluate people over time And of course, our
Yeah.
expectations for each of those things raises over time. But it's been a really useful guide for us as we've been hiring and building out the team.
Yeah, it definitely has been. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah. What is your take on the current state of AI? How do you think it will impact different aspects of our personal lives? How do you think it will impact the products that we're building?
All right,
Asking.
so I
We're
think
way too old for this.
I know we're too old. We're too old and pessimistic. So I think AI has a lot of promise, but I think it is so far mostly unrealized promise, and it's not impossible within the next few years that could change. Um, but I think uh, different impacts of our personal lives. That's interesting. I guess in many ways it makes a lot of different types of work easier and faster to do already, even as limited as it is. It can do some very helpful things relatively quickly, and I guess we would expect to see even more of that. And then for the products we are building, if it can mature and develop a bit more, I think there's promise in all of our products basically for some kind of an AI feature or integration.
I believe there will be very few like kind of primarily AI products, and that really AI will thrive as a feature of an existing product that just strengthens the kind of network effects and competitive advantage you already have. It's just like solidifying that in kind of an impenetrable way. I don't think a lot of the initial reactions are like, let's make a whole AI startup, and I don't think that's as compelling or strong of a business.
I don't think so either.
How did we get in here? What happened?
Oh, whoa, this is so different. This isn't Coffee Bean.
We did have some technical difficulties. The sun was getting more and more intense. The computer overheated. The battery ran out.
We just lost the
Yeah,
end. All right, last questions. Ready, Nathan?
of course. Natalie, what are your thoughts on hiring talent from across the globe, and how has it impacted the company's culture, collaboration, and growth?
I think there are definitely some challenges with having an international team, but I feel like our team has handled it really gracefully. Everyone has a really kind of open curiosity about where in the world everybody else is. Everyone is particularly curious about food,
Yeah,
what food everyone eats. Uh, and I do feel like it's worked out pretty well. What do you think?
yeah, I think so. I think having a remote team definitely has challenges. Any remote team, and certainly across time zones.
Sure.
But I think we've being a remote only company has allowed us to like put the right processes in place where it's not. I think it's really difficult to be like an in-person office and then have some people remotely, because usually the right processes and systems are not in place to support that well. Um, so I do feel like everybody on our team is an equal member of our team. Um, Certainly, there's challenges around trying to figure out like holidays and scheduling, because it's different for everybody on our team. But we've figured out an approach that seems to work, and yeah, I mean everybody's like very different and like curious about other people, and in some ways very similar. Like, so when we share photos and things of our weekends, like some things it's a very stark difference. It's very obvious, and sometimes it's um, kind of funny how it's all very similar. We all are posting photos of pets and food.
Everyone is very collaborative, no matter where they're from.
Yeah, I think everybody on our team, right, does fit like the same values and everything that we share as a team, and like we've hired around that regardless of where people are from.
All right. How does it feel to deviate from the WordPress space y'all have been so familiar with for so long? This is the most Texas question ever.
Yeah, I think it's a good change to take one step out of the WordPress community. We're still very involved with our plugins, and even our newer products have connections to WordPress. But from a technical perspective, it is kind of nice to be working with a platform where you have more control. Like in the WordPress world, all of your products are running on all sorts of different random servers throughout the world, on your clients' servers, customer servers, and they're all different versions, and they all have different plugins installed that might conflict. And you also don't have like direct control to, like, if you have a bug fix, you can't deploy the bug fix. You have to release it and wait for somebody else to update it. Um, so there's just a
Yes.
lot of, you can't roll back if there's a problem. Like with a hosted service or platform, like you can back everything up. You can roll out deploys. You can roll back if there's a problem. You can roll a fix out if you need to. Um, you don't have that wide variation of devices, right? Like, uh, so you control a lot more of the variables, and so you can deliver a better experience, a more consistent experience. Um, you know, similar to how like Apple on the iPhone, right? Like there aren't 75 different iPhones out there that they need to build for. There's one, and they control every aspect of it from top to bottom, and so the software can be much better because there are a lot of known quantities in the hardware. So I think we're getting a little slice of that, which is refreshing and nice. But then there's other challenges as well. But it's nice to be trying something a little bit different.
Yeah, it's scary but also exciting. I think there are a lot of constraints around having a WordPress product. There's so many things that you don't control, and there's a challenge of marketing it that a lot of really traditional marketing avenues don't really work, because you also need to target people who use WordPress
Yeah.
and not just people who need, appointment scheduling, for example. And so it's it's a whole new world of possibilities that are open with the new products, that we get to try out some new things and have a whole new
Yeah.
audience.
What helps you prioritize tasks when everything feels urgent?
I do try to think about what is holding up somebody else up, what is holding back one of the products in some way or another. Some things become urgent just because they're due, and you either do it now or there's going to be some serious consequences. Those are usually external things outside of the company, but they still need to be taken care of. Um, Once all of those things are done, I have found that I could get into kind of a paralysis with, like, oh, I don't know what to work on next, and then not get anything done because I'm trying to figure out what to work on. And so I decided that once those very clear top priorities are done, it doesn't matter. Just work on something, just get something done. Just pick a task and finish it. What about you?
Yeah, I think in a small business, you're always trying to uh, bring in revenue and grow, and like you might need to hire additional support or additional. You're always trying to grow, and so anything that is going to produce revenue in the shorter term, like the most direct path, if something's very close to, like, oh, we need this one feature because this one customer says they will buy as soon as they have it, or we need to do this one thing. Like if there's anything like that that's very close to revenue, then that should obviously be prioritized first. And then beyond that, I try to prioritize anything that's going to compound, right? Like some things are just like a linear amount of work and you have to do it. And then there's other things that, like, we have to do it eventually, but like if I do it today, then it's going to start to go into effect and then it's going to build over time. Um, and so that can be in a lot of different categories, but like if I'm uh, it might be prioritizing some piece of content that, like, as soon as we publish it, like then it begins to get views and over time it will build, versus if I just get this one piece of work out the door and then tomorrow it doesn't produce any value for me or for the company, then um, I will try to prioritize the things that compound first. And then also similarly, like if there's not some drop dead external deadline, like an event that's happening, and like literally the deadline, if you pass the deadline, then the task is dead, and you're never going to do it because it can't be done. Outside of those things, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes it makes sense to prioritize based on your energy and like what what task do I want to do that I can get into a state of flow and be effective on right now. Um, Sometimes it helps to be able to just work on whichever thing is going to move forward the most quickly, because again, yeah, you don't want to get in the paralysis of just trying to get the perfect prioritization.
Yeah. You could waste a lot of time trying to prioritize your task. You could spend the whole day doing that. What advice would you give us to become such great managers, leaders, and decision makers? It's a compliment and a question. Do you get it?
It wasn't an explicit compliment. Um, it could be read that way, but not
I choose to read it that way.
okay. I think trying to be as direct and honest as possible, like, and not trying to create an environment where people have to guess what you mean and like try to read all the hidden meanings that are behind things, because communication is hard enough, and especially in a remote company. So I think just trying to uh, be clear about your expectations and like what does success look like, for the company and for the position and for the work they're doing, and then try to give them space to do it and try not to micromanage them. Um, Try to guide and support more than direct and assign. um, but management's very challenging, and we deal with new situations like all the time that never occurred to me. So um, yeah.
Constantly. Yeah, I think from my work career, I unfortunately had mostly negative examples to learn from. So I've learned a lot about what not to do from people that I have worked for. Um, Not everyone was a negative example, but I do think that direct communication and being open is really important. Um, and I think that opens the door for a lot of other things, just, mutual respect and honoring who people are and wanting to support them and to growing their career and accomplishing whatever their goals are too. Um, it seems to be kind of working so far.
I think that's all the questions that we have for today.
Yes, no hiccups, no problems whatsoever. Modern technology, it's such a wonder.
All right.
All right, Nathan. So we'll do this again in 10 years?
Yeah, I'll see you in 10 years.
All right.
Bye.